Shalom, Israel. I wanted to talk a little bit about the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Uh, and I want to set the record straight on a few things. Some of our young people believe that Martin Luther King died for black people. Martin Luther King did not die for black people. Martin Luther King died because of white racism. That's why the man is dead. Okay, he was rattling some cages around this country and now he's dead. And to bring things more into perspective, in no way do I dishonor this man, okay? He did make some huge contributions to us in large. I like the fact that um, he promoted boycotting. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the boycotting later, okay? Um, lots and lots of people do smear campaigns on Martin Luther King, and I'm not going to do that, okay? But I do want to set the record straight on some things. He did not die for black people, okay? It was white racism that killed Martin Luther King. What he was trying to do, if you really want to take a clear look at things, what he was trying to do was unrealistic and it wasn't biblical. That's why it's important to know who is who in scripture and who is talking about what. Okay? Now, if you know and understand who the children of Israel are, then you would understand that we were never supposed to assimilate into the culture of any land that we were living in. We were told to come out from among them and be ye separate, okay? So that's the angle that I want to take here today, okay? And again, I want to reiterate that this is not a smear campaign on Martin Luther King. I do believe that he was a good man. I'm not here to talk about his sins because he that is without sin, you step up to the plate and cast the first stone. Okay, a lot of people like to lay out other people's sins all out in the open as if they don't have any. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what he attempted to do here in the United Snakes of America. It didn't work, and I'm going to show you how. I'm going to prove to you that it didn't work. His goal, he had many goals. So I don't want you to think that it was only one thing that he was trying to do. He wasn't just trying to fight for our freedoms and fight and march so that we can be a free people in this land. You can't be free in the land of your captivity. It's impossible. What Martin Luther King thought was a good idea, he thought that if we were to integrate and end segregation, that we would be better off as a people. And I'm going to tell you why that plan went up in smoke. Okay? I'm going to tell you why. Because again, it goes back to scripture. If you know biblical prophecy, you would have never tried to have black and white join hands singing Kumbaya together. You'd have known that it was all a farce. Okay? And for anyone who is offended by what I'm saying, please just go ahead and cut the video off now because it's going to get worse. Okay? And when I say get worse, I'm talking about I'm just going to keep giving more truth, in which most of you are allergic to the truth. You don't want it. So if you don't want the truth, then this is not the video for you. But again, back to us assimilating into this culture. The handwriting was already on the wall, okay? This nation was founded on murder, genocide, thieving, robbing, rape, everything. And the scripture tells you that a city founded with blood, that city is going to be cursed. No good thing is going to come to that city. That also means country, okay? And it's not just talking about just a physical city like the city of Detroit or anything like that. It's talking about a land, period. This whole land was founded on murder, genocide, racial hatred, poverty, death, and disease to the children of Israel and many other cultures as well. So already the start of this thing was just rotten to the core. And then when you come fast forward to the time of Martin Luther King, this man said, look, white America, can y'all stop knocking us upside our heads because we want rights? Can you all stop sending your police dogs on us because we want to be treated as humans? Okay, he started off with that. All of that was fine and dandy. But this is where the whole dream went up in smoke and was derailed. When he started having the dream that we can hold hands with the people who have declared themselves to be our enemy, he was hoping for something that the scripture never said would take place. It was never said that we should join with the enemies of the land that we were captives in. These people made it clear how they felt about us. Now, we should have taken some hints with all the lynchings and the hangings and all of this stuff that, look, these people can't stand us, okay? But instead, we said, this is what we did. And this is the part of Martin Luther King's mission that I disagree with. Trying to unite us with such a group of people, okay, it did one thing to the black community. It confused us. It basically said to us, and I'm going to give you some examples. One of the things that they didn't allow back in the day was for black people to come and sit at their restaurants and dine. They didn't want to serve Negroes. But what did we do? Because we were tricked into thinking that we should fight for the freedom to dine where we pleased. So what that did, what it did was sent a pack of Negroes into white restaurants begging Massa to feed us. We're like, look, Massa, I got my money. Can you make me a sandwich too? Can you make me a plate of spaghetti? Can you give me some mashed potatoes and gravy too? Now let me tell you how sick that sounds. This person has to go back into the kitchen behind closed doors and prepare a meal for you with a heart full of hate. Chew on that for a minute. Does that make sense? That don't make sense. But yet that's what we were begging for. We were saying, Master, please feed me. Make me a sandwich. Make me a drink. Go back there behind those closed doors and prepare me a meal. And after you prepare it, come and sit it in front of me as I sit at this lunch counter next to this man who can't stand me. Do y'all understand what I'm trying to say here? This is what Martin Luther King was putting into our heads that we should fight for. Okay, now there were some good things. I got to keep saying that. He did say that we should boycott institutions that don't want to do business with us. But certain aspects of this whole plan was, in my opinion, very ignorant, meaning we were ignoring obvious things. Another thing to me that I feel has been a detriment to our people. Okay, and I hope y'all get this. But fighting for the right to go to their schools, that's just like saying, teach me something, Massa. That's just like saying, look, I know you hate me. Because they did, y'all, and they still do. Back then, they were willing to die for their right to hate you. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? But what we were doing, we were some begging Sambos saying, look, I want you to allow me to come to your schools so that this teacher, this white woman, or this white man over here who can't stand my children, I want you to teach them. And you trusted that they were going to teach your children something that was good for them. Do that make any sense at all? Anybody who thinks that makes sense, please hit me up in my inbox and explain it to me, because I just don't get that type of thinking. For us to think that this dream of togetherness with a people that hate us was going to be a reality. We have proven time and time again that we are a sottish people. This is what the Most High called us, sottish. Okay? So I want you all to understand that there's no disrespect meant to Martin Luther King here in this video, but his plan did not work for us. What you have right now is you have young people today who know nothing of our history. They think that our history begins during the 1960s. And many of them don't even go back as far as slavery because they don't want to deal with that subject either. So they think that Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, that's black history, y'all. How many black history speeches are surrounded around by these people, surrounded on Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks or Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Benjamin Banneker, just a handful of people, a handful of inventors, a handful of people that led our people through the Underground Railroad and Frederick Douglass. I mean, just that's it right there. There's Black history for you in a nutshell, because nobody wants to take it back further than that. Black history is world history. You got that? But our children don't know this because we beg to be in the learning institutions of the people who enslaved us, beat us, killed us, and hate us to this day. And we are comfortable with our children going to school to learn about their history. And the little bit of our history that they give us is washed out, is whited out, is watered down. You can't go to your enemy expecting them to give you your history. That is utter foolishness. You need to do some digging and searching all on your own. Not to mention, we need to rub together two brain cells and figure this thing out. If you understand how just basic science works, you would understand who the first people on this planet were. Okay? If you just look around you, many things are just right there, but our people reject knowledge. We don't want it. And so you have this mind block going on to where, it wasn't too long ago that Martin Luther King was killed. I know y'all think that was 500 years ago, but this was back in the 60s, y'all. This man ain't been dead long at all. His body is barely in the ground. And the first thing we want to do is we want to run out and we want to assimilate into a culture that you had to have the National Guard come in to walk our kids to school. What kind of nonsense is that? When I think back to the parents, and I mean no disrespect to any of you who are still around, but any parent that would say to themselves, look, the National Guard is going to take my children to this white school. They're going to make sure they get there safely. So they had to beat past a crowd full of angry, racist, murdering people to get your child to come and sit in front of a teacher who don't want your child there. That's the kind of simplistic thought and simple-mindedness that we have as a people. And it is time for us to shed the simplicity. Martin Luther King, I know you meant well, brother, but you didn't do us no good. Because right now what you have is our people still in this country begging for acceptance and love from a people that are not capable of giving it to us. Now, you might have onesies and twosies over here that are able to put aside their whiteness and accept you for who you are. But the masses, okay, I'm talking about the masses. I know this is not every last one because there's always an exception to any rule, okay? But there are not many exceptions in this regard. Most of the population here in America, most of the ruling class here in America, and their racial makeup, most of them, they will only come so far to a Negro before they say, okay, you're getting too close. That's what happened with Martin Luther King. He's dead because they essentially said, Negro, you are asking for too much. You want too much to happen too fast. And because of this, I see that you are unifying your people, and you got them screaming for rights, and you got them doing this and marching, and y'all moving all up in our neighborhoods, y'all bringing y'all black behinds in our schools, y'all sitting at our lunch counters. This ain't what we wanted. This ain't what white America want. And since you got your people begging for this is what we're going to do. We're going to kill you. And when your people do come into our neighborhoods, we're going to give them hell. And when your children do go to our schools, we still going to segregate them. And you know how we're going to do it? This time, we're going to put our children in the gifted classes, and we're going to make the medical establishment declare that your child is ADHD, dumb and stupid. That's what we're going to do. Now, I'm not saying that this is the state of our children. I don't believe that our children are dumb and stupid. I believe that our children are very bright. I've seen that played out too many times. But this system has played its cards so well that most of us feed into their psychosis. We feed into it. The teacher tell us, they sit us down. I experienced this with one of my children, and they set us down and tried to convince us that one of our children was ADHD, had a learning disability, was autistic, and all kinds of things. And I said, it's funny how when we lived in this state, this child was smart, getting all A's on their report card. Now that we done moved here to this state, you want to convince me that I'm raising an idiot here. And I said, no, thank you. I'm not interested in your monthly checks because let me tell you something. The teacher that was trying to present this to us about our child, they basically said, you could take him over to such and such hospital and they can evaluate him and you can get a check. The government will give you a check. Me and my husband looked at this woman like she had lost her cotton picking mind. You want me to sell my child up the river for a check from the government? And we told them in so many words, you could take your check and shove it. Because we know that we are raising a smart, intelligent child here. And we are not going to subject our child to y'all medical experiments, having them feed him pills every month so that you all can get more funds for the school, because she also said that, the school gets more funds. I can't believe that this woman even fixed her mouth. See, the problem is they think all black people are stupid. They think that many of us would sell our children out for a check, because unfortunately many of us have. Many of our people have sold our children out for checks. And so when a teacher comes and says that your child is this, they have a learning disability, they have ADHD, they have this, that, and the other, most of us, instead of checking into anything, and they give you the pitch about the check that you get every month, most of us say, that's something to think about. I think I will have them checked out. As a matter of fact, they tell you what to say to the doctor. They tell you to go and say, I think my child has ADHD, because everybody is in this together. Most of these doctors don't have enough integrity to say, that's for us to determine, not you. Most of them say, oh, okay, we'll check into it. Yep, seems you're right. Okay, you guys need to go apply to the government so that you can get some type of SSI benefits or whatever for your child's condition, in which there is no condition. But this is how the system is playing, and was all meant to dumb our people down so that we can't think anymore. And this is what happened when we went into their schools. So Martin Luther King, I'm sorry, that's a huge fail right there, trying to get us into their schools. That's basically saying, too, that we are not capable of teaching our own children. We fed into that whole line of garbage, that we are not capable people. And so, I'm not going to make this video too much longer. I hope I've made the point that I'm trying to make, is that this assimilating, this integration was a huge fail. And for those, I got to say this, I've had a lot of people, black and white, I get this constantly. My husband and I both get this constantly, that we are these racist bigots. I even had one white guy call me a racist prick, and I just started cracking up. I said, you calling me a prick? Ain't that one of y'all words? And I was cracking up. I'm like, this guy called me a racist prick. He just don't know he gave me a laugh for the day. He had me cracking up that day. But let me tell y'all something. What I'm saying has nothing to do with racism, okay? I do realize that there are some white people out there, and it seems like the sun is coming, just getting blocked a little bit, but I do know that there are some white people that are very kind and have treated us very kindly. This is not against every last one of you, okay? If I'm talking to you, that's who I'm talking to. If you know you hate black folk without a cause, and you are complicit with what your people have done to us and continue to do, that's who I'm talking to. Okay? That's who I'm talking to. So some of you borderline white people who say, well, I don't hate black people, but I hate racist blacks. It's like, get out of my face with that stuff. You hate black people. Okay? Because what I'm saying is not racist. I'm telling you the truth. Okay? I'm telling you the truth about what we go through, what we've been going through, and what we continue to go through. Okay? And for our people who think that we're causing division, so you think that the division starts right now, huh? So it wasn't division back when Martin Luther King was getting bust upside his head just for trying to get fairness for our people. You don't think that was division when those cops were spraying our people down with them high-power water hoses? Don't come tell me that I'm causing the division for what I have to say about these things, okay? The division was those who were dividing us because they didn't like the color of our skin. It's really not the color of our skin they hate, because you got other races of people, like those from India. You got some of them darker than some of us. So let me tell y'all something. Here's a clue for you. It's not skin color that they hate. It's the blood that flows through our veins. We are the children of Israel. And the scripture says that we shall be hated of all nations for his name's sake. And with that, I will say shalom.